Up on the craggy shore lived Silas, a keeper who tended a lonely light against the vast, sleeping ocean. His home was a tower of stone, nestled where the land met the restless sea, and every night he watched over the dark water with a quiet worry about waiting for the right moment, the perfect pause, the precise second to act. He carried within him the heavy belief that everything needed to be managed by his own hands, that asking for help meant admitting a weakness too deep for such a solitary place. Silas kept his most precious possession in a glass shelf, a small brass lantern. It was not merely an object, it was the heart of his watch, a steady, warm promise against the cold, indifferent night. He polished it often, tracing the curves of the brass with his thumb, finding comfort in its familiar weight. This little lantern was his shield and his secret, representing the control he felt over his world, a solitary responsibility that made the silence of the tower feel less empty and more manageable. One evening, as the moon began its slow ascent, casting silver shadows across the waves, Silas noticed something amiss. The glass shelf where the brass lantern rested seemed suddenly lighter. It was not broken or cracked. It was simply empty. The familiar warmth that usually radiated from the lantern was gone, leaving behind only a faint, soft shadow in the beam of light he kept burning. A gentle, subtle invitation seemed to beckon him toward the cool, damp air that drifted in from the sea mist below. The missing light did not cause alarm, but rather a quiet curiosity settled deep in Silas's chest. He felt a strange, slow pull, a feeling that this absence was not a crisis, but perhaps a soft question waiting to be answered. Driven by this gentle curiosity, Silas decided he would follow the faint trail of the cool mist, stepping carefully from the warmth of his tower and into the soft, enveloping embrace of the sea air. The mist was cool and soft, smelling of salt and sleeping flowers, wrapping around him like a silken shawl. As he walked through the damp, hazy world, the path grew softer, leading him deeper into the quiet solitude of the coastline. He moved slowly, listening only to the soft sigh of the tide and the whisper of the unseen wind. And then, in the heart of the mist, Silas encountered something ancient and still. It was a creature woven from the very silence of the deep water, a form of glowing tide, shimmering with the muted blue light of the moon reflected on the water's surface. It had no sharp edges or demanding voice, only an immense, quiet presence that felt profoundly patient. This luminous being did not speak in words, but offered a silent gesture. It slowly turned its soft luminescence towards Silas, inviting him to look beyond what was lost and see what was truly waiting. Silas stood still, letting the gentle light of the tide wash over him. He realized that the missing lantern was not truly lost. It was simply waiting for someone to notice its absence, waiting for a moment of shared awareness. It had been waiting for the quiet observation of someone who cared enough to look beyond his own hands. The glowing tide pulsed gently, and in that silent communication, Silas felt a shift deep within him. He understood then that true light was not something held captive by control, but something that flows freely when offered. The burden of needing to manage everything alone felt suddenly lighter, replaced by the quiet realization that his strength lay not in solitary command, but in the gentle courage to notice what is missing and the patience to ask for help. Silas took a deep breath, a slow, steady rhythm matching the calm of the sea. He made a choice. He would trust the quiet invitation over his old fear. He extended his hand, not demanding, but simply offering the space for connection. And in that moment of gentle vulnerability, the mist seemed to part just enough, revealing the familiar shape of the brass lantern, resting safely where it belonged, shining with a light that felt richer and warmer than before. The returned lantern did not just illuminate the room, it illuminated Silas's heart. The light now felt shared, warm, and infinitely more powerful because it was no longer solely his possession. He saw that the absence had been a prompt, guiding him to seek a different kind of strength, the quiet patience required to recognize that sometimes the greatest treasures are found not in what we hold tightly, but in the gentle courage to let others share the light with us. Silas settled back into the warmth of his tower, feeling a profound and deep sense of peace settle over him. The vast, watchful moon shone down, bathing the stone walls in soft, ethereal blue, and Silas felt safe beneath its gentle gaze. He breathed slowly, rhythmically, letting the calm rhythm of the sea fill his lungs. The silence was no longer empty. It was filled with the soft glow of returned light and a quiet understanding of the world's gentle ways. As sleep began to drift in, Silas let go of the need for solitary control, drifting into a long, restful sleep, wrapped in the peace of shared care and the quiet knowledge that true strength is found in trusting the patience of the night.